Hello, Amos. That's Linda. Hello, Dorothy. Hello, Pakaya. We'll give a few more minutes for some others to come on. Minister Jackson. Hello, Sheila. Give a few more minutes for some others to join us. Kev. All righty, Mike. Hello, Pastor Mike. Hello, Dawn. And you notice I pronounced it only Dawn. Hi, Deb. All right, let's see, where are we here? Okay, a few more, about another half minute or so, and we'll get going. Carolyn, how are you doing? All right. Okay, tonight we're going to be studying Jonah. For those of you with us in our lab broadcast, we studied Jonah as well. We're going to study again tonight. Tonight we're going to look at Jonah, the third chapter primarily. And tonight's topic, so we can give you a topic, and this is a challenging one to write this way, but we'll say it this way, and we'll tell you a little bit more what it means. It's what I'm going to call rejuvenated hope. Okay, rejuvenated hope. Rejuvenated hope. And now, just by way of title again, rejuvenated hope, Minister Jackson, if you could put a parenthesis after that rejuvenated hope, that this is also destiny recovery hope. This is a form of destiny recovery hope. But tonight we're going to look at rejuvenated hope. Again, a form of destiny recovery hope is what we're going to look at. So we're going to keep that in mind as we look at this, that this is one of the forms by which we recover our destiny. All right? Okay? Now, let's get going with, we'll be reading, and those of you who've been with us before know I look to my left on my computer here so that I can read the scripture. But I'm going to summarize chapter 1 and chapter, and chapter 2 of Jonah, and then I'm going to start reading probably end of Jonah chapter 2 into chapter 3. All right. So now let's just summarize chapter 1 of Jonah. Is that God called Jonah and said, Jonah, I need you to go to Nineveh and preach to Nineveh. Well, Nineveh was not one of Jonah's favorite people, the people of Nineveh. So he decided he didn't want to go. So he took a ship going the wrong way. And that could happen to us in our lives, going the wrong way. But then God sent a storm and a fish to hold him in place, which is what God does to many of us, hold us in place until we come to our senses. So chapter 2 of Jonah is when Jonah came to his senses. He reflected. He had reflection hope in chapter 2. All right, you got it? So chapter 1, he recognized that he was wrong. Chapter 2, he has reflective hope in chapter 2, and chapter 3 brings chapter 1. But somehow it had faded. The same thing can happen to you. Sometimes your hope will fade. And now this rejuvenation is what I want you to pay particular attention to, because his hope faded simply because, watch this, he didn't like the mission God was sending him on. You get it? And since he didn't like it, he needed to now rejuvenate the hope that he had. You follow it? And that can happen to you. That sometimes you just don't like the mission God sent you on. You know, you say, oh, hallelujah, I prayed and I married this man, and now that you got him, you don't even like him. You get it? Ooh, Lord, send me some children. I'll be glad when I have some children. Now you have 5 or 6 and you don't like them. You need rejuvenated hope in the mission that God has before you. You get it? You wanted a church? You got one now, but you only have 3 members. You need rejuvenated hope. You have a home, but now, wow, you're not sure you want to pay the bill, etc. You need rejuvenated hope that God can still complete his purpose in you. That is what rejuvenated hope is for, as we define it tonight. Others might define it differently. So rejuvenated hope, okay, is that hope that helps us reestablish our purpose and our call in God. That's why it's a part of destiny recovery hope. You get it? So now with that, let's start to read. All right. Jonah goes, here it is, Jonah in chapter 3. Then the word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time. What time? A second time. He had already come to Jonah once, but he came back a second time. Here's something you need to reflect on right now. When you have reflected on God and your hope has been restored and has been rejuvenated, he'll come back to you. Some of you keep saying, well, I hadn't heard from God in a while. Well, maybe you need a little rejuvenated hope because perhaps you missed the mission that he had you on last week. Yeah. And he may have you held up in your fish. Yeah. But God is going to speak to your fish and release you this week. All right. So the word of the Lord came to Jonah the second time. Go to the great city of Nineveh and proclaim the message that I give you. Jonah obeyed the word of the Lord and went to Nineveh. Now, Nineveh was a very large city. It took 3 days to go through it. Jonah began by going a day's journey into the city, proclaiming it. 40 more days and Nineveh will be overthrown. The Ninevites believed God. A fast was proclaimed, and all of them, from the greatest to the least, put on their sackcloth. Watch this. Jonah took care of equivalent of 3 days journey in 1 day. Okay? Why? When you have rejuvenated hope, the clarity of the message that God has for you comes out stronger. Let me say that again. When you have rejuvenated hope, the clarity of the message that God has for you comes out stronger. And here's why. One of the factors in rejuvenated hope is something I call restitution. It's not a word I created. It's in the dictionary. Restitution means that you are going to make things right. And that's what rejuvenated hope is for. Rejuvenated hope is not for you to just say, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus, and dance down the aisles. It's for you to make things right. Because rejuvenated hope always carries with it restitution. Write that down. Rejuvenated hope always pairs with restitution. So if you hear me say rejuvenation, you ought to also hear / restitution. You get it? That's what we call rejuvenated hope. So rejuvenated hope carries with it restitution. The other thing it carries with it, there's another R word that it carries with it, is resolution. So so there's 2 things that go with rejuvenation. Rejuvenation requires restitution and resolution, meaning that you're going to make things right or put things back right in order. You follow it? But someone just said, wait a minute, I messed up with my mom and my mom is dead. Well, there's someone else's mom next door. Go make it right by her. You get it? Somebody, wait a minute, my kids are full grown. I didn't do right. I didn't raise them well enough. Well, guess what? There's some neighborhood kids that need a little bit of help. Why don't you help them out? You get it? Rejuvenated hope carries with it restitution and resolution. You get it? So you might want to even call this tonight restitution hope. You get it? All right, let's move on. Watch this now. So here it is. Jonah, he accomplished in 1 day what it would normally take 3 days. That's how powerful his message was. And that's how powerful and clear those who walk with a rejuvenated hope spirit will be. You cannot walk into your ministry down without hope. Your hope needs to be rejuvenated because that is the spirit that others will catch. He went in with a rejuvenated hope and he transferred rejuvenated hope to Nineveh. What did it say? They declared a fast. Okay. These were not Israelites, by the way. These were not the churchgoers. These were not the holy rollers. Okay. But they declared a fast. So because he went with rejuvenated hope, he rejuvenated the city. When Jonah's warning reached the king of Nineveh, he rose and throne and took off his royal clothes and covered in sackcloth and sat down, and he proclaimed what? This is proclamation he wrote. By the decree of the king and his nobles, do not let people or animals, herds or flock, taste anything. Do not let them eat or drink. He said, don't let even the animals do it. Now, someone say, well, that's pagan. Listen, that's all he knew. Those with rejuvenated hope aren't busy beating up on the folk that they rescue. I'll say that again. People with rejuvenated hope aren't busy beating up on the folk that they rescue. You just pulled them out of the street and you took them to church and they had on an outfit that's not customary at your church. Why you want to beat them up? They are being rejuvenated. That's all they know. That's all they have. You get it? People with the rejuvenated spirit and rejuvenated hope are not judgmental. They let God do the work in the people. You get it? So they said animals too. Everybody else in the church would have had a heart attack about that one. Okay? These people were not accustomed to the proper ways of going to worship. They didn't know when you say, let the church say, everybody says amen. They didn't know that. They didn't know you stand when the scripture is being read or whatever other custom or routine or ritual you have. But the hope in Jonah rejuvenated them, and that's what should happen to you. Here's what happened to most parents with their kids. They get the kids rejuvenated hope, and the next thing they know, say, that mean you're going to go to church Sunday? Maybe they won't. Maybe they will. But allow rejuvenated hope to do its work. When it's doing its work, get out of the way. That's what Jonah did. Follow? Say, by the decree of the nobles, do not let anyone, the animals, anyone, verse 8, but let people and animals be covered with sackcloth. Let everyone call urgently on God. Let them give up their evil ways and their violence. Here it is again. He was accustomed to pagan worship. He was accustomed to what, and again, I will apologize to those of you who hear the word pagan, because sometimes that really is not a very nice term to use. So I'm going to apologize now for using that. These people were not accustomed to Israel style of worship. Is what they were not. They were completely different from the Israel worship. However, rejuvenated hope came to them and gave them the hope that existed in the God of Israel. Let them give up their evil ways and violence. No, who knows? God may yet relent and will have compassion upon them and turn their fierce anger and they not perish. When God saw what they did, watch this. When God saw what they did, verse 10, it's an important point. When God saw what they did and how they turned from their evil ways, he relented and did not bring on them the destruction that he had threatened. In other words, God was intended to destroy them, but actually they were destroying themselves by their own practices, like it's happening today. Many people are destroying themselves by their own practices. But if you bring rejuvenated hope to them, then they themselves will catch the fire, and God will then return his hand of mercy to them. So rejuvenated hope is that hope that allows those who don't clearly see God to realize that they need God. I'll say that again. Rejuvenated hope is that hope that allows those who don't clearly know God to realize that they too need God. You get it? And that's what we should be about today. Our spirit should be so rejuvenated that we want others to hear the hope we have. And when they hear our hope, it will catch fire on them, and then things will be resolved in their spirit in such a way that they can now trust God like you trust God. You get it? So now, rejuvenated hope came to Jonah because God had released him. You get it? And likewise, God has released many of you. Okay? But some people only want, okay, to bless their own circumstance. So, but God has not called you to simply bless your circumstance. He's called you to be a blessing in the circumstance of others. There's some who only want themselves to be healed, but they don't pray for someone else to be healed. Rejuvenated hope, because it carries restitution with it, will put you in a spirit where you will want someone else to be blessed. You get it? You will want someone else to have the same hope that you have. So rejuvenated hope is not a hope for your own selfishness. It is for the blessing of others. I'll say it again. Rejuvenated hope is not for your own selfishness. It's for the blessing of others. God did not release you to just look out for you. But here's what happens. There are many people who don't like somebody, and because they don't like them, they feel they're not going to do anything for them. They're just going to stand back. Well, I'm just not going to do anything for them. I'm not doing anything against them, but you're not doing anything for them. Because of restitution, it is required for those with rejuvenated hope to do something for someone else, and get this, not the person on your best friends list. You get it? For example, maybe you're a mother with a daughter-in-law that you don't particularly like, and that happens. Well, rejuvenated hope would say that you go to them and you do something well for them that will encourage their life, so that they'll see that you are maintaining hope even in a situation that's not preferred by you. Jonah had to preach and deliver in a situation that he did not prefer, and actually, frankly, did not like. But because of the spirit of restitution that comes with rejuvenation, it requires you to do something for someone else. And that requirement is outside of what you think and how you feel and what fits your way of thinking and your way of doing. You get it? That's why Jonah was successful, because he took his rejuvenated hope not to the people that liked him, not to the ones he preferred, but to the ones that he didn't. And why is that important? Listen, if you want to see people's lives turn around, you want people to be better, why don't you introduce them to the same God you have? You get it? Once they get the same God you have, guess what? The two of you get on the same page, and that's what happened here. Notice here, once Jonah preached, he was out of sight, he's done with. Yeah, that's how it works. Okay? Once things are resolved, you're good to go on them. But if they're not resolved, you're back in. Again, God didn't release you to be selfish or have a selfish ministry. All right? Okay? All right. Now, so rejuvenated hope shows that you have agreed you've agreed to go in the direction that God has put in front of you. And you've also acknowledged that direction is the direction he had told you before now. You get it? Rejuvenated hope means that you've agreed to go in the direction that God has put before you. And you have acknowledged that direction is one that he had already shown you. Some of you have been already shown a direction you should go, people you should help, people you should be a part of ministering to, but you don't particularly like them. And therefore, you're being stubborn just like Jonah was. And some of you are swallowed up in your spirit right now. That's why some of you can't have peace and can't have happiness. That's why actually some of you are a little bit confused about some things in your life, and you can't quite get things together. That's what happens when you're not walking on the spirit of rejuvenated hope. You see, rejuvenated hope is what settles your spirit to do it God's way. Rejuvenated hope is that hope that resettles your spirit to do it God's way. All right? Rejuvenated hope also will let you set aside your emotions to yield to the Spirit of God. And that's what Jonah had to do. Now that he's been spit out of the belly of the fish, onto dry land, onto safety, he is now in a position to go forward for God. But the heart that he carries for God is what's going to bring the results. Listen, don't pretend you've gone around relatives that you don't particularly like, and you pretend like you're praying for them and you're thinking about them. No, you're not. You're lying. Your spirit is already speaking that you don't like them. Your spirit is already speaking that you're not going to do anything good for them. You're only going to do the bare minimum for them. Okay. You won't even pass them the gravy at the family reunion because you just don't like them. You pass it the other way so someone else can pass it to them. That spirit's there. And that's a spirit you went into. That's why you're not being successful. Some of your relationships need restitution and need resolution, but they can't because you go into it with a haughty spirit. You go into it with a hateful spirit. You go into it with a stubborn spirit. And here's what you say. Well, I'm just not going to say anything. Well, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to even talk to them. I didn't say anything. Yeah, that was a problem. That's what Jonah did. That's how he got swallowed up in the belly of the fish. He decided since they didn't look like him, didn't talk like him, didn't act like him, didn't come from the same side of tracks that he came from, was not educated the same school he was in, did not grow up in the same church he did, the same neighborhood he did, didn't drive the same kind of vehicles he did not eat the same foods, did not shop at the same shops, didn't watch the same television shows. Since didn't do anything they did, had absolutely nothing in common, he had a right to snub nose them, turn up his nose at them, and say they don't deserve the same grace of God that I have. When your spirit's regenerated, you'll realize that's an error. Some of you wives tonight need a regenerated spirit towards your husband. Yeah, I know he's a rascal. Yeah, I know he's tough. But restitution would say you still do something for them. Some of you need a regenerated spirit about your job. You decided since they didn't promote you, you're going to prove to them, I'm not going to do anything. Yeah, but it's only hurting you. God called you to be number one. Not because they promoted you, but because he's blessed you and gifted you to be number one. You get it? All right, let's see a few more points here we probably want to make about it. Well, this may be a good time for me to go ahead and give you the definition of rejuvenated hope. Again, I want you to note now, rejuvenated hope comes with two friends. And let's make sure we'll put this in the definition, okay? And we'll put rejuvenated hope, and in parentheses, we want to remember restitution, resolution. Okay, you got it? So rejuvenation comes with restitution and resolution. So rejuvenated hope is destiny recovery hope that fuels your spirit to do the right thing by others, even when your emotions won't exactly let you like them, or a circumstance, or there's a circumstance that you don't particularly care for. I'll read that definition again to you. It's one that I wrote, no copyright issues here. Rejuvenated hope, and that hope includes what? Restitution. Restitution means making things right. And it includes resolution. That means bringing things to a close, ending it, and know that's where you're in it. Make it right, bring it to a close. In rejuvenated hope, you make it right, bring it to a close. You don't keep arguing with the man about his shoes in the middle of the floor every week after week. Okay? Restitution would say, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move those shoes to the place to show him that I still love him, even though his shoes are in the wrong place. And you bring it to a close. All right? So rejuvenated hope is destiny recovery hope that fuels your spirit to do the right thing by others, even when your emotions won't exactly let you like them or like the circumstance, or you don't like the circumstance they're in. But you still do the right thing. Your hope will be so rejuvenated to your emotions will be set to the side. You will have blessed somebody that you don't even like and can't stand. And next day you'll ask, why did I do that? Okay? But that's the power of rejuvenated hope. Because watch this. The person you don't like sees it too. They see you being a blessing to them, even though you could hate them. You get it? And when they see that spirit, the enemy can't figure that out. And they themselves start now to understand the power of God in someone's life. And that's what rejuvenated hope does. Rejuvenated hope shows the power of God in a person's life. Now, there's some other things that rejuvenated hope would do. Let's say, for example, you're involved in your career, okay? And you've been swallowed up, you're tired, you're wore out, you're down. I get it. Rejuvenated hope says, get up, and do something positive towards that career or towards helping someone else along in their career, and watch what happens in your own career. You get it? That's what Rejuvenated Hope does. It lets you help in a situation that you don't prefer to help in. Perhaps you're sick, and maybe perhaps you have diabetes, okay? And you've decided to sit down and have a pity party about your diabetes. Instead of having a pity party about your diabetes, why don't you find a diabetes club and help someone else who's struggling with theirs? Maybe give them a positive word. Show them that you can still have hope in the midst of your diabetes. You get it? That's what Regenerated Hope will do. It takes hope and it restores hope in others, even when they don't realize they need it. It takes hope and restores hope in others, even when they don't realize they need it. That's what the spirit that God has put on you and challenging you with. So with that, let me share with you 4 principles or 4 features of Rejuvenated Hope. And again, that Rejuvenated Hope comes with what? 2 best friends, right? Restitution means making things right, and resolution means bringing it to a close. So here's 4 features of Rejuvenated Hope. Rejuvenated Hope expects God to speak again. Those with Rejuvenated Hope expect God's going to speak again. Once you're released from the belly of that, from that circumstance you're in, maybe it's meanness, maybe it's hateful, maybe you're stubborn, maybe you're a little snooty, a little arrogant, whatever it is, once you're released from that bondage, you expect God to speak again. When your hope, that's how you know your hope's rejuvenated. You start to look up, you start to smile, you're excited, you're happy because you know God's going to smile. You've been fighting your husband for 3 weeks or a month. All of a sudden you realize that it's not a very wise thing to do, almost as a dumb thing to do. It's not a very wise thing to do. And you realize the reason your marriage hasn't gone anywhere because you've been busy fighting. You stopped fighting. God released you from the bondage. You looked up and realized that my hope is regenerated, that I can have a great marriage, and that spirit jumped on your husband. You get it? All right, so it expects God to what? Speak again. The second thing to Rejuvenated Hope is it expects change in the circumstance, okay? Because you spoke to it. It expects change in the circumstance because you spoke to it. Your hope is so rejuvenated till you stop arguing about circumstances, you start speaking to circumstances. That's what Jonah did, okay? It expects change in the circumstance because you spoke to it. The third feature in it is size of the circumstance doesn't matter. The size of the circumstance does not matter. You believe that any size can be handled. You get it? The size of the circumstance doesn't matter. You believe that any size can be managed. Jonah had a big task in front of him, okay? But he got in a hurry and he got it done in a third the time it should take a normal person to get it done. And that's what's going to happen to you. God is going to reclaim your time. Third feature, I believe it is. Or is that? That's the third. Fourth feature. You're humbled by the power of God to turn around the circumstance. You're humbled by the power of God to turn around the circumstance. So much so, you just shut up. You're done with it. You have nothing to say. People try to pat you on the back. You don't want to hear it. You don't care about it. Accolades, you don't care about. You're just humbled at the power of God to turn around the circumstance. So that's Rejuvenated Hope. Again, it is a form of destiny. I know I'm throwing out a few terms, but it's a form of what's called destiny recovery hope, meaning that it puts you back on track for your destiny. The tools, or its 2 best friends that it uses in rejuvenation, is restitution is one of the tools you use, and the other tool is resolution. Restitution means you're going to make things right. Perhaps you can't make it right by your own kids, make it right by the neighbor's kids. You're going to make things right, and then you're going to bring it to a close. You're going to stop it. You're not going to continue it. All right? So So when God releases you to complete and be who he called you to be, the question is, will you be stagnant and sit and pout, or will you move out with vigor to complete the mission? When God releases you to complete or be who he called you to be, will you be stagnant in the situation, sit and pout, or will you move out? Will you pout because you're sick today? Will you pout because you don't have the finance? Will you pout because you don't have a large home? Will you pout because you don't have the vehicle? Regeneration Hope won't let you stay there. Or will you just get up and complete the mission? Jonah had too far to go to be slow, and so do you. Hashtag that. I've got too far to go to be slow. Hashtag, I've got too far to go to be slow. So when you have too far to go to be slow, Rejuvenated Hope will fuel your spirit to make it despite your old emotions. This is Dr. Anthony Revis, Faith Ministries Church, Midland, Michigan, USA. God bless you. Enjoy your evening.